So I saw this like small little documentary the other day, and it was about the 1969 NASA mission to put man on the moon. One thing that really struck me is how complicated the mission was, how many key like critical stages there were in the mission, as in critical as in if there was a failure at any of these stages, then it would result in the death of some or all of the astronauts. And also equipment wise, there was a lot of equipment that was mission critical as well, and a lot of this was completely prototype, as well as just not really knowing what would happen when they landed, how that could affect their equipment as well. So basically I think there was a distinct possibility in that mission that it would have been a failure, and I wonder how that would have affected the world. Okay, so imagine, for instance, the worst case scenario, perhaps like that would probably be like a Challenger sort of situation where the rocket blows up on takeoff. And another one I think that would probably have a longer psychological effect would be if the astronauts had made it to the moon, landed there, broadcast all their footage back and stuff, and then there'd been a failure to launch, and the guys had been stuck there and more or less just died a kind of slow death while the oxygen runs out. Because what would be happening now is, even today, many decades later, we'd be looking up at the moon and we'd just be seeing a huge gravestone in the sky. That could have had a pretty big psychological impact, I think. And I think it's to the point where perhaps they knew this, and it would make sense if I was like the leader of the country, whatever, to actually run two missions side by side. I would run the actual moon landing mission, and then I would run the public relations side of it, which would be the side that we saw with like Buzz Aldrin and all that kind of shit, with the fake footage even to back it up, because I think if the mission had failed, or if it did fail and we don't know about it, it would have been seriously terrible, especially for like the psyche of America. So that's what I would have done, and maybe that's what we're seeing. We're seeing like a mission that was either successful, but the actual mission we don't get to see, or the mission was a failure and there is dead astronauts on the moon, or who died during the mission, didn't make it back, and again we are just seeing the footage that they provided us with. And then I suppose the final option is it was actually a one-way mission, and the guys that actually took part in the mission knew they were never going to come back. For instance, like the guys that are supposedly going to be going to Mars, but that would have been too upsetting for the American people, and it wouldn't have been a good psychological exercise. So perhaps the mission was actually a success, but it was actually always going to be a suicide mission, and those guys are still up there now in their spacesuits. It'd be interesting to know if their bodies would rot or not. I'd imagine it'd be pretty well preserved, like those guys on Everest. Alright, and I might do a longer video on this. That was just a quick thought about it.